Hi, I'm Nicole Turnbull, co-director of the Psychosocial Safety and Leadership Institute, and I am so excited to be chatting with John Toomey from the Wellbeing Thought Leaders. And what we're going to do is have a chat about who John is, what the Wellbeing Thought Leaders offer, why this work matters, and how you can connect with him if you'd like to learn more. John, thank you so much for being part of the collective. You were one of the first people we reached out to and had a chat about, and you were all in immediately. I love your work, what you do, and what you stand for. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Well, it's really good. I mean, it's so easy when you come across people in life that you know are doing great work and they're coming with a really, really pure intention, and that was so obvious. So, yeah, why wouldn't I want to be part of that? It's very
Uh,
cool.
Ditto, right back at you.
Okay.
Now, look, for people who might not have met you before, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, sure. Well, gee, the problem is when you ask somebody who's 65 years of age what their background is, that's almost War and Peace, right? But basically, I sort of part grew up in the Darling Downs on the land, and when I was 10-year-old, my folks bought a pub in Collingwood, so I had that mixture of, sort of the broad open spaces, then the closeness of inner suburban Melbourne living, and
Mhm.
I went to a great school, which knocked enough bogan out of me for me to be able to survive in the world. And then went and studied physical education because I was sports mad, loved my footy, cricket, surf lifesaving. I was a professional surf lifeguard in my late teens, early 20s.
Mhm.
And went on and served 7 AFL clubs in high performance roles.
Yeah.
But back in 1980, a friend of mine and I, and we got a few people together and we developed the very first fitness leadership training courses in Australia. So aerobics instructors, gym instructors, and we used to teach a lot of those courses at night, and invariably I'd get invited to go into companies and give a talk on fitness and
Mm.
nutrition or whatever. So I started doing that, and that sort of just built progressively over a long period of time whilst I was working in footy. And I also started an IT company, and we developed software, and we sort of really explored a lot of things, and always did a lot of writing as well. And then in the mid 90s, I started connecting with some yogis. I'm not talking about yoga teachers, but genuine yogis. And these guys really opened my eyes up to a whole different perspective on human well-being and human thriving. So that started an even broader range of study. And then 2005, I did an avatar course and started understanding and really studying human consciousness in great depth. So all of those things just expanded my skill set that gave me so much to offer because I really understand what creates great culture. I really understand why people don't behave the way they possibly could, and all these things that come together to create difficulty in workplaces. They're all pretty easy to see these days. So, yeah, that's my background. And my wife and I sort of spend our time between Melbourne and northern New South Wales and the US because she's American and she's got kids and grandkids over there. So yeah, we and I still do a lot of speaking and a lot of writing, and I don't think I'll ever stop because I love it too much.
Yes, and you're great at it too. I've
Uh,
seen you live many times and absolutely love it. And can you share with us what is the Wellbeing Thought Leaders and what do you offer there?
yeah, well, so what I was trying to do there, see, my company was called Wide Awake Wellness,
Mhm.
and Wide Awake was about awareness. Getting people to really sort of be more expansive in their awareness, and
Mm.
as life sort of evolved and then psychosocial risk came in, I felt like in the mental health and well-being space, we were approaching it the same way we were approaching degenerative disease,
Mm.
trying to fix it
Yeah.
rather than prevent it. And 80% of the disease that ails people here in Australia is preventable because it's a lifestyle disease. Degenerative disease means lifestyle created.
Yeah.
And same thing with mental health issues. And so I wanted to sort of stretch the people out there in workplaces into exploring the way they're thinking about things and take on new perspectives and explore broader perspectives. So what I wanted to do is create a new leadership in thought around well-being. So that's where Wellbeing Thought Leaders. So I'm not labeling myself as a thought leader, but what I'm doing is trying to create more people who want to explore their perspectives and become leaders in the way they think about these problems.
Yeah, I love that. That's such an
Yeah.
incredible explanation. And what makes your approach and service unique?
Well, there's only one cause that I will ever champion, Nicole, and that is personal responsibility. Now, I don't want people to think about blame because personal responsibility and blame are very different things.
Yeah.
Personal responsibility is, wow, I'm experiencing this. How am I contributing to that experience? We
Yeah.
can't walk around being a victim all of our lives because that's a very powerless place to be. And so my thing is about providing people with a fundamental level of education to give them a deeper understanding of how they're interacting with life
Mhm.
and how they're creating their own experience. Like, for example, Nicole, I've used this one before. You've heard me use this before, but like if you walked into a room that I was in, I was speaking and you knew something embarrassing about my past, and you decide to throw it into a question that you asked me in front of all these people, right? That would be a really nasty thing to do, right? But the bottom line to that is you doing that and my response to that are two different things. And I get to choose if I'm aware enough and if I'm courageous enough, I get to decide how I'm going to respond to that.
Mm.
I could be embarrassed, I could be angry, I could be upset, or I
Mhm.
could also be compassionate, go, wow, I wonder why Nicole needed to do that. I'm not going to give it any attention, keep going, you
Yeah.
know? So that's really where we want to lead people to, is to this place where they actually become master and commander of their own universe. And
Yeah.
every person can do it. And even if they don't get better, perfect at it, they can get better at it. And you imagine a workplace of 200 people and everybody gets 20% better at personal responsibility. What's the ripple effect going to be on that workplace? It's amazing.
Yes, I love that. And why is this type of work? Why is it important to you?
Well, Mark Twain quoted something once. I don't know whether it was his original words or whether he was quoting somebody else.
Mm.
But the quote said, hard times create hard men or hard people.
Yep.
Hard men create soft times create soft men,
Mm.
and soft men create hard times. And the reality that we live in is that we've never been wealthier. Life is so comfortable, it's so easeful, and we're noticing our emerging generations are really lacking in resilience.
Mm.
So I ask myself, what are they going to pass on to their next generation?
Mm.
What's that going to look like? And so, really, I've got grandkids. And so, there's an old saying that says there's a reason why old people plant fruit trees that they'll never see bear fruit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is my planting of fruit trees. If
Mm.
I can help people to wake up to become more responsible and more diligent about the way they conduct their lives
Mm.
and have the courage to make strong decisions, then hopefully that will pass down to their kids and their grandkids, and we can steer away from the catastrophe that could be created by people who don't have that resilience, who don't have that care for emerging generations.
Yeah. That's
Mm.
incredible, John. And one of the things that you have done, I have it here, I'm sure. Here it is. Should probably get more organized, right? Um, to help with that is you've written a book. Can you share a little bit about what the book is about and why you wrote it?
Well, I've done a lot of work in the mines, predominantly in Western Australia, running education programs. And one of the challenges over there is quite a lot of suicide.
Mm.
And I got very interested in that. I thought, how can I help? And people go on about how hard it is and it's a terrible life and it's really tough on families. And I just thought to myself, well, that's bullshit. Um, because, we lived in a pub in a little town called Miles in Queensland, which is part of the Surat gas basin.
Mm.
And we used to have men staying in our hotel. They worked for Tees. They were building wheat silos. They didn't get to go home every 2 or 3 weeks. If they did want to go home, they had to catch a bus all the way to Brisbane, which is 4 hours, and then catch a plane, and it was expensive to fly back in those days, or a bus or a train. They just didn't get to go home, and they were awesome men. And there was one fellow, I don't know what his last name was. His name was Clary, stocky little man. He's probably 50 odd, and I was a 9-year-old. And he used to say to me, "Hey, son, can you race up the shop and get me a decent cake of soap?" Because in the hotels, we'd have these little cakes of soap. And I used to do that for him. And one day, Clary didn't come home from work. A crane fell over and fell on him and crushed his leg, and he bled out under the crane and he died. And, when I heard people complaining about how hard FIFO is, I thought, man, these guys got no idea compared to what it was back then. And then what was it like 50 years before that,
Yeah.
you know? So I thought I need to help these workers gain some perspective. So I did a survey first to find out the attitudes, and I learned that 60% of them go out there with no plan. They just turn up for work. And so they've got no structures set up to support their families. And, one of the common things that happen is that as a guy will go to smoko at 10 o'clock
Mm.
and he'll pick his phone up and check the phone, and there's a text there that says, "You need to come home right now."
Mm.
And of course, you can't do that, so there's all this stress. So I wrote the book to help the worker and their families become much more aware and much more organised on how to conduct their lives around the FIFO lifestyle to turn it into an awesome part of their life.
Mm.
And we're about to publish in the North American market now. As soon as Trump screamed out, "Drill, baby, drill," I knew that industry was going to start thriving again in the US. And it just so happened, Penguin reached out to me and said, "We'd really like to publish your book in North America." So, yeah, so that's all happening.
Congratulations, that's so exciting.
Yes.
So what kind of organizations and leaders do you enjoy working with most? You
Oh, wow.
explained it, but yeah.
Any organisation that's got people in it,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, everybody's a human being.
Mm.
Yeah. And sometimes I get a bit lost. Like I got a call from a big construction company, tier one construction company, a few weeks ago, and they've got a project running. They've got subcontractors in there, and it's just mayhem because the subcontractors are pushing back, and there's resistance, and they're really frightened that their safety policies weren't being adhered to. And that was really important to them. And I said, "Can you come and help us?" So I went down and I just spent 3.5 days with them. We had lots of meetings with all these different people in the meetings. And it was so interesting to just be there and be present and see where the misunderstandings were and the miscommunications, and then help them understand those things so that we could plug the communication in and get some more appreciation and acceptance of each other and get things aligned. And then I finished it off with a pretty powerful talk about care and attention. And it was extraordinary. We solved the problem.
Yeah.
And so that's a bit of a strange one for me because I don't normally do gigs like that, but I really enjoyed it. But I'll go into, for construction companies, and I'll tour around multiple mine sites and talk with the workforce. I could be talking on fatigue prevention or mental wellbeing and resilience or whatever. But at the same point in time, I'll go and do the same thing for an insurance company or
Yeah.
speak to white collar people or real estate companies or that sort of thing. So any organisation that has people, I'm not sure I've got a message for robots just yet.
We can unplug them, right? So what's the best way for the community to connect with you and find out more?
Just the bat signal, just shine it up in the. Look, I'm easy to find on LinkedIn or
Yeah.
my current website, which is being overhauled at the moment. There's a new website coming, but Wide Awake Wellness is .com.au
Hmm.
is the current website. It'll soon be wellbeingthoughtleaders.com.
Hmm.
And yeah, my email address is just jt@wellbeingthoughtleaders.com.
Fantastic. I'll add
Easy.
to below as well. But just wanted to say again, John, thank you so much for being a part of the collective. Thank you so much for the incredible work that you do and the change that you make. I've seen you change lives in the summits that you've been a part of, and it's honestly needed way more. So I love what you're doing. Thank you so much for being a part of it, and thank you so much for connecting.
Hey, thanks, Nicole. Really nice to be here.